Alright, so, as with the last Scythe commission, and I realize I'm missing my secondary camera, but that's alright. OBS is definitely being weird today. But, as with the last Scythe commission that we did, I'm going to be using the straight-up black Vallejo game ink, because of how deep the pigment is in it. So that's what we're going to be using here. And just doing paneling and all that good stuff, so. Definitely going to be a busy couple of weeks here. I have a ton of commissions going on, which is always a good thing. Alright, so I'm just checking to see what we did last time on the last little set of guys that I worked on. So I'm going to grab a brand new brush for this week, or today at least. And we'll be working on that. So, I did the first little leg section and then the actual body. So, we're going to be doing that here. And you can see it's a really fast process. I like using this ink because of how deep the pigment is. It's still going to show a little bit of that silver detail beneath it. And then we can go through and do edge highlights. All of the different factions, though, have, you know, certain parts that are easy, certain parts that are difficult. I'm trying to see just how far. All right, all the way down. And you'll see this wash dries really fast. I'm applying it relatively thick, but not too thick on there. Just enough to get that pigment going. Let's see, I left that, okay. I'm just referencing my photos that I always take. Now these are the easiest faction to paint. Obviously, because we're just applying a thin wash to actually get the colors on there. Some other ones are different.
I literally thought in my mind, like, I could literally stay here forever. And that was probably like the best one.
Oh yeah, Chris, so I use raw sienna is the color, but really any sienna color is kind of always my go-to. Yeah, Ben, I'm actually working on someone else's airships, but yours are going to be primed this evening, so, and they'll be painted the same way. You can see it's already drying, showing a little bit of the edge work there and the rivets. Then we can go back in and do a light gray edge highlight on most of it, bring out a little bit more detail, and that's pretty much it for these. So obviously not as difficult as the yellow or the white, which is the most difficult, at least with the method that I use and everything. But I do kind of like the simplicity of these. They just turn out looking pretty nice. After we do the wash on these, or at least on this one specifically, we may as well just move over to the ship. I'm a little bit more excited to paint the ship, obviously, because it's brand new. Haven't had any opportunity to paint them. Yet, at least. I mean, I've done the mechs before. This client was pretty cool. They came directly from the Stonemaier, the actual Scythe website, which is always cool. All right, so let's figure figure out our process here. So, as with all the mechs, right, I essentially paint them as if they're all mechanical first, you know, just all metal, and then there's been a paint job applied to it. So the task here is to kind of figure out how we're going to apply the color scheme to the ship. So obviously painting certain panels, not painting other parts, things like that. So I'm gonna get out a little bit more of this wash, since that's our quote-unquote paint color that's gonna be going on the outside. And this color is super, super dark. It's not like a normal wash that you apply. It's just like a pure pigment that gets applied onto there. So I'm just trying to think in my head of how we want to do it. I'm thinking obviously that bottom middle panel is where that's going to be applied. Maybe do alternating out of these sections here on the top, and then portions of the little like control deck. Maybe this bottom observation portion. And that's probably going to be it. But we'll see. We'll figure it out. Thinking about leaving that one out. Now, unfortunately, if you are trying to get a commission done by Christmas, it's not happening. I already have a rush Christmas order, so that's taken up pretty much all of my time on top of my other commissions, but I am running a special still. You can see that in the top left corner. If you're looking to get anything done, that special ends tomorrow, and then it goes down to a smaller discount with no minimums. So if you have something in mind, feel free to get a quote out there. Most commissions that are being booked now are going to come out sometime in mid-January. Just trying to apply the wash nice and even. Make sure I'm getting all those rivets. So this front portion doesn't have any rivets, and it's like split. So what I'm wondering is if I should leave the front of this section here silver, do this section of riveting. You know, they're all not going to look alike though, that's the thing. So I kind of don't want to like, you know, blow it sort of out of options on this first one. Because obviously leaving this open here means I will paint it in on another one, right? So just trying to give myself options. We can do this little portion though. Let's see, since this is left, we could do maybe this one and then the front one in black. Water it down just a little bit here to keep my brush moving. There we go. Then we'll do the front half. Alright, so I like this idea so far. I do need more of the ink out. The ink does dry really fast on your palette, depending on what you're using. Thanks for hanging out today, though, for everybody that's watching. If you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to ask. As always, if you haven't liked the page, feel free to give it a like. You'll be able to see all the commission work that I do all the time, whatever I've got going on in my life. If you yourself are a miniature painter or you're looking to learn to paint, anything like that, I do also have a Patreon. You can see that URL at the bottom right. Patreon.com/minipaintingstudio, where we have a private Facebook group. We do lessons, a giveaway every month, all kinds of cool stuff. This month we're doing our first paint-along lesson, so everybody has miniatures that they've purchased, and we're all going to paint them live together, so that'll be kind of exciting. But if none of that interests you, thanks for hanging out. That's all I really care about. Hope you all had a great weekend. Got to play some games, got some painting in. I know I was painting pretty much all weekend. This weekend I'm having a party though, so I should get some games in at the party. So you can see right there, this is a good example of what the wash does. You're still getting that edge highlight underneath of the metallic. And you can see it there as well. So it's not like a total coverage, but it's really, really close. Got some Gloomhaven stuff coming up as well. I know I can't show some of the ones that I'm painting though, because that's like a spoiler in the game, which is going to be interesting because I always have to photograph everything I do, right? But if that means I'm spoiling something, then don't really know how I'm going to work around that. How's it going, Eric? I'm doing good today. Yeah, I'll probably do 2 albums. But of course, like, that means I can't stream the majority of the commission, but that's fine. That's fine. Remember as well, if you're trying to comment or ask me something, make sure that you're doing it in the chat window. Otherwise, I won't be able to see what you're saying. If you just comment on the post, it doesn't show me any of that. Since I see someone's commenting. That's just the way that the Facebook live streaming works. Alright, so I think this is sort of the pattern here. And then obviously we'll weather stuff and then highlight the black. And then I'll probably do the deck like a deeper color. If it's your first time watching, feel free to say hello wherever you're watching from. I always like to know who's watching from where. I know I get lots of people from all over the world every day, and that's always really exciting. A little bit more water here. I think I might have to deepen that up a little bit. We'll see. Give me 1 second here. Uno momento. Alright. Alright, and we're back. Alright. Drop more of this out. Really, I should be putting it in one of my small buckets, but... Or buckets, one of the medicine dispensers, little medicine cups or whatever, but I think we'll be alright. We'll be okay. Yeah, I can darken that back up. As long as it doesn't look perfect, right? Like super even coverage, then that's kind of what I'm going for. Alright, so I gotta figure out what other portion on the sort of command deck. I'm thinking this part right here. So you need to hit the edge. to go back in and touch that up. But that's okay.
There are a lot of people who are unhappy with their chosen careers and lifestyles.
All right, let's flip over to this side.
And we get to do this and love it.
I think someone asked, but they, I don't know. It was weird. They, like, tried to haggle my price, and I was like, I don't haggle. Sorry. Like, you're paying for my time, so.
To do this and love it.
I do have a lot of really cool commissions on the way, though, so looking forward to a lot of it. Doing the bottom fin here. We could do a portion of the deck in black. I mean, I don't think it would hurt anything. We could do this middle set. I'm gonna water it down a little bit here. You can see I'm manipulating the wash by moving it around so that it stays a little bit darker around the edges, pools up a little bit more. There we go. So, you know, because remember, we don't want it to have super even coverage. We want it to have a little bit of depth to it. And then let's do this middle one. And why not? Let's do the back panel. Leaving these small little divots, silver, attached to that back wall. All right. So, for the black, I think that's good. And then obviously we're going to go through with a, like, brown wash. And we'll add kind of like, you know, rust running down certain areas. We can do direct highlights on some things as well. And then that way, since they all have the same body, like, that's kind of the only setback, right, about painting the same miniature like this with different paint schemes, is that you want to be able to break them apart while still showing, you know, what faction they're for and everything. So that's the idea, at least there. But alright, so we're going to let that chill. I'm going to get more of the ink out there, and we'll knock out the other three. Then I'll show you the wash process on the reds. We'll dry brush the other ship that we're working on. And we'll just move right along. Get 2 factions knocked out. For the bases on these, he didn't do anything fancy, so we'll just be painting them black on top with a faction color around the rim. So no earth and texture or anything like that. This month's Patreon lesson was all about basing, so there's a full tutorial on there on how I do all of the realistic basing techniques, all of that good stuff. Last month's Patreon lesson was all about brush control, shaping your brush, applying paint, how to practice, and get better brush control, things like that. And there's no telling what January's lesson will be, so it might be layering, I don't know. There have been a couple requests already. Thank you, Richard. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks to everybody out there watching. Hope you're not too stressed out about the holidays, anything like that. I know sometimes that can be unavoidable, sadly. I'm a little stressed only because of the deadlines that I have, but I always just have to remind myself that I am extremely lucky that I can do something I love for a living, so I think that's the important part.
So they let you tote that record player down there?
Aw, come on, Ink. Why are you drawing on me like that? Stop it.
That's the beauty of music, babe.
Alright, so we have one more. And then we are finished with the color on these. The faction color, that is, the base black. Music. Hello? Hello? We interrupt this. Oh, there we go. Gotta love YouTube. I just realized that I don't have any coffee, so you might actually see me die on this stream. I might perish forever. If you would like to Postmates me a coffee, drop your name in the chat, and I'll be forever grateful. I'm just kidding. But I might die. I don't have any coffee, y'all. Alright, let's look over this again while that section's drying really quick. So before we do the final weathering on it, I'm relatively happy with the color blocking. I think that this still leaves a lot of options, obviously, for the other factions, which is good. If you haven't seen the way that I've done my Scythe commissions before, just click over to the main page, look in the albums, and you'll be able to see kind of how all the factions end up looking when they're finished. And you can get an idea of how that all works. Obviously, the first time I've done the ships, because the ships are brand new. Man, this is drying out on me again. It's like at that last leg, the ink decides to dry. That's insanity. I like never use this ink though, so I'm not really used to it. Alright, that is finito. So what I'll do next is we can move on to show you the washing process on these guys. So they've just been base coated, primed and base coated. So the wash that I use is a wash that I mix myself. The infamous money wash right here. So we'll do one squirt of that, and then I'll add another drop of water in there. There we go. Mix it all up. And we'll apply it on there. Hey Scythe, how's it going, buddy? Hope you're having a good day. When I was washing the ships, it was funny because I had to put a little dowel in them so they could stand up while they were drying. So the washes that I use, the ones that I mix, are a little bit different than washes that you would normally buy. They have pigment in them as well. They don't have ink, so I'll put it that way. So they're pigment-based washes. So they dry a little bit different. You get a little bit more utility out of them as well, depending on you know, what you're mixing into them, things like that. Pretty much an instant way to get all those details to pop out, and then obviously I go back in and dry brush them up. You don't lose any detail either by, you know, the amount of paint that's being put on there, because it's super, super thin and just evaporates right off of there, leaving all the details in the shadows and the recesses. So you can see the difference, obviously, pulling everything out there. But a pretty quick process. They take a few minutes to dry depending on how much you've applied. So it doesn't take you a lot of time. Out of pre-made washes, I always suggest Army Painter. I think they have the best ones on the market because of the medium that they use inside of the wash. Their resin medium is really awesome. Runner-up is Vallejo with their game washes and inks. Then after that, I don't really care. Probably Games Workshop, just because they have so many. Or you can make your own, and you get a lot more utility out of them. Now, I did wash this wash down as well. That's a funny sentence. I added water to it, so it's a little bit diluted compared to what it normally is. But I don't need it to be really strong on these guys, so I'm not too awfully concerned. And then remember as well, we're going to dry brush up and bring back a lot of those details that may get washed out. So we're not going to lose any detail here. This was just the plate metal silver from Army Painter. I'm excited because I have 55 paints from War Colors in the mail right now. Can't wait for them to get it here from Cyprus. Hopefully they don't freeze on the journey and get ruined, but I don't think they're going to get ruined, though. I mean, even if they do freeze, you just got to let them thaw out and then remix them. Alright, so we're going to let that dry. So that's all that is for the washing process. Really easy peasy. And then, of course, so here is the washed version of the airship before you do anything to it. So this is what they looked like before I dry brushed it up for this one. So this one's going to be the red faction. So we'll figure out a different pattern for the red on there and everything. But we can dry brush this bad boy up. So going to use the same plate mail metal that we used before. Drop some on the palette. Get some on the brush, wipe it almost all the way off, and then we'll begin to dry brush it back up. Dry brushing is a really useful technique for people that are new to painting. If you've never painted before, really easy way to get good coverage, highlights, things like that. For me, it's a really good method, especially with metal, anything like this, for the lower level commissions that I do, just because it saves me a lot of time, and it has always pretty much the same results every single time, so it's really consistent. As I bump the camera. As always, for everybody with the 50 that are watching right now, if you have any questions, anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will try and answer them for you. Today we are working on 2 different factions from Scythe, and their accompanying airships as well. Not sure what we'll be working on tomorrow. I have so many commissions right now. Every day is just going to be a mystery. So Denver asked, how many coats of paint on the base to make it so even? Just one. So like this is just one coat of paint. Just one. I believe Army Painter has the best metallics out there, so very easy to get good coverage. I even water them down, so they just have really, really good pigment. I know there's a lot of, now I want to call it bad information, but I know there are a lot of people out there that if you're a new painter, they'll say like, oh, well you can just use craft paint, or like, you know, really cheap paint, 50-cent paint from Walmart, you can use this, that, da-da-da-da-da. And, I mean, as long as you're happy with those kinds of results, which are less pigment, less coverage, stuff like that, then I would really suggest buying paints that are intended for miniatures, because that is the difference, the amount of pigment that's in them. Now there are some craft paints, obviously, like Delta Creative, I use that a lot, but never their metallics, because that's just not something that those paint companies focus on. But otherwise, Vallejo and Army Painter are probably my favorite for metallics. Next up would be, I mean, really next up I don't really care. I mean, really it's just Army Painter and Vallejo are my go-tos. Add a little bit more here. One last application, especially on the bottom. I mean, no one's gonna be looking at the bottom, but you always gotta put in the effort. Alright, but so there you can see the difference now. Bringing back a lot of that really shiny aspect, kind of cleaning it out, still leaving a lot of the darker reflections. I don't know who's messaging me, but I'm a little busy. Alright, so that one's ready. Let's take a little peek at the guys that we just washed as well. So you can see it's still wet, just a little bit, but we've gotten all of that nice detail added on there. For these, the top portions of the legs and then the main body is what gets painted red. I think the guns too. I'll have to look at the last commission that I did for them to actually see that. Give me 1 second here while I bounce over with all these people that are sending me messages right now. So I can tell them, hey, please stop. Please stop. Please, leave me alone. Okay, great. Thanks for the message. Alright, so we're gonna keep on moving here. Keep on moving. So why don't we do, while we kind of let everything chill for a second, let's do some of the deep weathering. Ooh. So I'm gonna use this Umber Wash from Vallejo, if I can get it open. If I can't get it open, we'll use something else. Alright, here we go. Actually, I don't even like that color. What am I saying? I'm a liar. We're gonna use the Sepia Wash from Vallejo. One of my all-time faves. It's a killer. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is go through and add some sweet, sweet detail. In between rivets, stuff like that. So you can see what I'm doing. It's a sepia tone, but it's a nice brown wash. See, going around the edges, and it dries a lot less intense than it looks when you apply it, obviously, but it just is going to give you a really nice subtle shift in color. Carol asked, how do I decide the price for a commission? I just have set prices. So, obviously, some things change depending on size. Like my base pricing scale is all based on 28mm miniatures, and then I just know how fast I work, so. But I do know I'm one of the cheapest out there for how fast I get stuff back to you. I know I also deliver a better quality. Like my lowest tier is better than most people that I compared myself to when I was starting out, so definitely tried to price some people out of the market, and I think it worked. But that's just business. It also helps that I do it full-time every day. That also changes what I can charge, so all the small things add up to make a difference. Alright, so I'm happy with those. We may add a little bit of like some of this going on. Some dripping. I mean, it's not sensitive. I mean, if you're asking me that question because like you want me to commission paint something for you, then I have direct prices. If you're asking that question because you're thinking about trying to do commission painting, then by all means, I mean, go for it. The market chooses, you know, who gets business and who doesn't, so I don't really care. Yeah, I mean, I'm not... Yeah, I don't hide how much it costs at all. You can see all my pricing information, minipaintingstudio/pricing. It's also on the Facebook page. Anyone that's ever said my stuff is too expensive has never quoted from anybody else before. So... But I've also never had anybody say that. Alright, so I think we're getting close to the end of that first basic weathering run. Obviously, we still need to go back in and highlight up the different sections of the black. But as for breaking up the silver, I think this is pretty decent. I could still probably apply one more wash of a different color or so.
Like, it sucks because this girl is amazing. She's awesome. She's like everything that I could, really want in a girl. And so I pretty much told her exactly how I felt. And it was a scary feeling, man. Like, this is the first time in my life where I've actually had the guts to go tell a girl who I have feelings for that I have feelings for him.
You know, I might drill out the holes on the smokestacks. I don't know. Because, see, they drilled it out there, but they didn't drill it out there. So that's kind of like, I wonder what that decision was. But, no big deal there. Alright, so, for the 50-plus people watching, I hate to break it to you, but every hour I do take a break. Stretch, move around. I usually paint between 5 to 6 hours a day, so I gotta make sure, I'm not killing myself here. So I'm gonna take a quick break. You can feel free to stick around. Enjoy the music, which of course has been killed on this one as well. There you go, there's your music. So I will return, and I'll be back. 5 minutes. Only because I saw you ask the question from my phone in there. Gordon, if you're still watching, if you go to minipainting.studio/pricing, you can see I have 3 different tiers, and then you get discounts for bulk. So you're looking at hitting the, I believe, 2nd discount tier for 40 whatever ships that actually is, because I know it's 35 plus. So yeah, the 42 ships gets you to the secondary tier, and then it just depends on what quality. For a game like Scythe, I usually just recommend tabletop quality because the miniatures don't really lend themselves to being pushed much more. Right now, I'm running a special through tomorrow is the last day, so you get 20% off your order, which would be over 200 for that. I believe it's like 50 maybe after all of that for the whole Scythe, and any commissions I have right now are going to be delivered probably sometime in the middle of January because I'm so booked throughout the rest of this month. So hopefully that answers your question, but if you need anything else, just send me an actual quote on my page and I can get back to you.
I'm curtain because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast, and I need you guys to act this if you want to get out of this.
All right, well, I'm back. I just stretched around a little bit. And that's about it. But yeah, so everything I do is based on deposits. So you lock in prices with a 50% deposit, and then clients pay shipping. The rest is due on completion. All right, so you can see all the weathering that we did is dry on here now. Yeah, every single Scythe commission I've ever done is just tabletop quality. Carol, I don't use any magnifying, to answer your question. Well, sort of not. Well, okay, that's true, but it's also a little bit not true. I have 3 monitors set up in front of me as well. So one of my monitors is like well, the one that I use the most is a 32-inch that has what you're looking at, but full screen. So, I mean, I occasionally look up to make sure what I'm working on is in focus. So it's a little bit bigger up there, sort of magnified, but no, I don't use anything like that. And then, yeah, to answer Matthew, all of them are tabletop. So my lowest tier, I could potentially push the heroes up 1 more level to heroic, but everything else, you know, the Scythe minis are great, but they aren't really, you know, necessarily intended to be painted like traditional miniatures or anything like that. So, you know, compare it to something like this that I was working on all last week. Obviously, there's only so much you can do. You know what I mean? Like, this allows way more detail to be put in. You can push colors and shadows like crazy. But these you can still make look really great. So the only difference with this commission, with some of the other ones that I have on the gallery, is these aren't going to have the earthen texture. So they're just going to be repainted black and then have the rim be the faction color. But obviously, too, like, I offer different basing, all the way from just a simple texture to doing, you know, display level type of stuff. So here are the actual example minis that I use on the website, right? So this is like an example of your basic tabletop level stuff. This is 1 tier up. This is your heroic level, which is just another additional level of highlighting. And then you've got your display level, which obviously you can see is quite different. Oh, let me move it. Quite the difference here from, you know, your tabletop. So that's really the difference that you're looking at. Or if you're looking at all 3, you know, bang, bang. And then the guy that I just showed you, these from the Frozen Ninja Kickstarter, these are all display level and everything as well. So it's different techniques that are used, take different amount of time, stuff like that. So that's kind of the differentiating factor. So that's what you're looking at. All right, so anyway, back at it. So let's figure out what we can do. You know, we can, I need to check really quick. Give me 1 second. I need to look at what red I had used initially. So I think I can get away with using, yeah, let's do that. So let's do our red. our base red here on, well, I say that, and then I can't find my red that I always use. Here it is. So let's do the red ship, and then we'll pretty much call it a day. I normally stream for like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, just depends on what we're working on. But I know I need to do, I mean, God, I have so much to do. So I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on stream with these. I mean, I have so many different jobs going at once. So we have this ship. This one's going to be the red one. And I want to make sure that the actual paint pattern is different than what we did on the black. So let's figure out what differences we can do. So we're going to have these side by side. So I think what we'll do is maybe we'll do the front of the ship all red and then the back of the ship all red and then leave the middle part not red. How does that sound? I think that sounds like it could look pretty cool. So we'll do that. Now the red's a little bit different, obviously, because we can apply a wash to it, change it up, make it look a whole lot different. So with this, it's just going to be a complete coverage of the different panels and then a wash applied with it. I might actually water this down just a little bit. So maybe 2 thin coats, who knows. This Vallejo gory red color is usually really, really high pigment. But it looks like, I mean, I don't know. We might get away with just 1 coat. We'll see. And why not? We'll go across the bottom. Straight line. Straight line, hold your breath. Looks good to me. If you don't paint, you may be wondering why, why would you do the whole ship first if you know you're going to paint over certain sections, whatever. One, you can get different consistency. Since I'm painting this more realistically, like it was metal first, then painted on top of, right? I don't necessarily want it to be a super even coat, but at the same time, it's just a matter of speed. So since I have 14 of these to do right now, I can just do them all the same and then focus on the details afterwards. So that's why I do them all like that and then apply the color. And then as long as I have decent coverage, that's all I'm looking for here. But I actually think that looks cool with the front done. Oh, and here is Arthur to remind me that, hey, it's about 3 o'clock, man. The painting day wouldn't be complete without a visit from Arthur. It's funny that I don't actually need a clock, because he'll just come tell me that he's hungry. Alright, so we'll do the front section like so. Now we can figure out the next portion to do. Oh, maybe we'll go all the way across towards the back and then just do that section. I think that could look pretty cool. So I own pretty much every brand of paints. Citadel paints I think are good for beginners. They're not bad. I don't really have anything bad to say, but I don't use them they're not my go-to brand. I'll put it that way. Yeah, no problem, Matthew. I think that's one of the reasons why I've been lucky enough to have the success that I have had with commission painting, is just because I'm really transparent with what I do. I enjoy streaming while I work every day, answering questions for people. Like I was saying earlier too before the stream, I also run a Patreon where I do painting tutorials, all kinds of stuff like that. So, while I make most of my money doing commissions, I also like to supplement and help people that are trying to learn to paint as well. So, being as transparent as possible. There are no secrets here. I know a lot of different commission painters are like, shh, I'm not going to tell you my secrets. I don't really think that makes sense. I use Reaper paints as well. They're actually like my 3rd tier brand. So I use Army Painter, Vallejo, and then Reaper, especially the Reaper High Pigment series. Those are my favorite out of their line. And like my top tier paint that I only use for display stuff is War Colors. So. Plus, I think it's nice being able to allow my clients to watch me work on what they're paying for. I know that's a big kind of level to get over with people that haven't had anything painted for them before. They're kind of on the fence about it. And there are tons of horror stories out there of people that are like, yeah, I couldn't get any update pictures from the guy. I never knew what was going on, etc., etc. Even famous painting services like Blue Table are notorious for being terrible at that, beyond other complaints. But so for me, I think it's cool that people get to watch their stuff being made and they kind of are able to document the whole process. Alright, so I think that looks pretty cool, and I think we may do this bottom section, and then maybe some of the engine housing in the red as well. Yeah, Carol, my clients, I encourage my clients to watch, so that way if they have any suggestions, or if they're like, hey, is there a way you could do this, that, whatever, you know, they get to do that as well. I mean, right now, earlier, the client that this belongs to was watching, so. Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things, like, if you're working with a commission person and they've already completed something and you're not happy with it, you're going to have to renegotiate the price. But, you know, and I've never even had a problem with any of my commissions, like, ever. There's never been a complaint, and I've never had a complaint against somebody. But if they were, like, oh, I saw that red that you were using, could you make it a little bit brighter? You know, they know that I'm on stream the same time every day, so they can always hop in, make a suggestion, and I can change it accordingly. But obviously, too, if anything ever happened where it was like a major change after I had completed something, you would have to pay. That's just how that works, because you're extending the time of the commission. But I mean, I highly doubt I would ever run into anything like that. People kind of know what they're getting into whenever they pay for a commission, so. But alright, so one thing I want to make sure too is that I'm not putting too much color compared to different factions. You always kind of want to keep them even so that the overall feel is about the same, like the game universe makes sense, right? So I probably won't do anything. Maybe I'll encase that middle portion with the smokestacks, and then I'll do the same 3 rings. So I'll probably do the 3 rings the same on every ship, and that'll just kind of be like a standard feature for all of them. And then I'll do something with the middle portion, and that's it. But I think this is going to be all of the color that's going to go on these. And I might do like 2 panels of red in the middle section, and then that'll be it. And we'll apply a wash to the red as well to bring out all those details. So it's not just going to be flat. Nobody likes boring flat stuff, so we'll breathe a little bit more life into it. So to make sure this is dry down here because my finger keeps getting close to it. And I'd rather not mess that up. Alright, yeah. And then I want to cross that middle part over the top and down. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more water just so I can move my brush faster. It's that top part. Alright. I don't know why I keep second guessing myself there. I don't know why I keep doing that. That's, stop. Alright, I just need to start. Right? Okay. It's so funny. Sometimes I like second guess what I'm about to do and I just can't stop looking. The wash that I'll use for this is going to be Army Painter Strong Tone. A nice deep brown, but with a lot of floating pigment in there, so it's nice and workable. Alright. So, got that done on both sides. I really don't want to touch the bottom because it's wet again. And then I was thinking about doing one panel or something in here, so we'll go ahead and probably do that. Well, Chris, I've never had a bad commission, so I wouldn't know what that feels like. And then Carol, it's just me. I mean, it's all of my work is either out of state or out of country. I do have local clients as well. Let's go across these two as well. Why not? Alright, so I think that is it for the reds. That'll be all the reds applied to this for this ship, but you can see compared, right? The blocking is separate. Oh yeah, no, that's one of them. Yeah, I mean, everything that I work on is on stream at some point, so that's kind of a part of the deal that they are trusting me with. Alright, so we can go ahead and apply that wash because the red is good to go. So it'll be Army Painter Strong Tone. I'll use one of these little medicine buckets. Why are you asking me so many questions, Carol? That's what I want to know. I'll ask you a question. So you can see how this wash is applied to the red. It didn't really change the tone of the red all that much. It just brings back our detail.
It'll be all right.
So you can see, really simple here. Letting gravity do all the work for us. As long as you're applying enough, you'll get the right result. And if you don't get the right result, you can always throw on water really fast, pull the ink or the wash that you're using back off, and just reapply it. You're not going to lose any detail from a bad wash, so as in, like, if you're applying too thick a paint or something, so you can always just go back through and reapply. It's not a big deal. You can see it's already drying there on the front. Alright, so there you go. Those are all of the washes on there for now. Until, obviously, the other sepia wash that we applied last time. That we went through and added. Whoops. Whoops, 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 I'm messing it up. I touched one wet spot and then I touched another. Alright, hold on. There we go. Maybe we'll just do an all-over wash right here. There we go. We'll let that dry. Alright, cool. So, that is it for the red application in that wash. I still have quite a bit of this wash left over, but I don't really have anything I can do with it. So, you know, sometimes you just waste your product. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. I mean, I could apply it on here somewhere, but at the same time, I mean, alright, whatever. We'll do it over here. Hate wasting a good wash. If it was any other brand, I wouldn't care, but this Army Painter stuff is amazing, so, you know, we'll just use it on somewhere where there'd be shadows anyway, like that top deck portion, so that's fine. Maybe on this part. So I'll go back and do that on this one. All right. But yeah, you can see how that looks. I think that's a nice shade before we start highlighting all that back up. Now the red obviously is getting a highlight all the way to like a bright kind of scarlet color. The black just gets a little bit of a gray. It stays pretty much black. But anyway, so we're right at the hour-and-a-half mark, so I'm gonna call the stream for today. But you can see some of the work that we got completed. So we washed these guys, so you can see the process for that. Applied the black to these guys, so all they need now is just their regular highlights. Pretty much did all the work on here, so we just have to do the highlight onto the black and the rivets and all of that. Then on this one, we did all the basic coloring. Need to go back through on the silver color and add that sepia tone to all of that stuff, which obviously I'm going to assembly line style the rest of them, so I'll be doing them all at the same time. I just wanted to get a couple of the ships on stream anyway. So if you are interested in having anything commission painted, my sale ends tomorrow, and it will be less of a discount than I'm running now, just no minimums. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a line and I can help you out. If it's your first time seeing my page, feel free to give it a like. I would appreciate it, and you can see all the cool stuff that I'm working on. Otherwise, thanks so much for hanging out today. I always appreciate all the support and everything. Cheryl says, I'm amazed how confident you are about putting your models down in puddles of what looks like dried paint. Freaks me out every time. Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I know exactly what's going on here. No worries, man. I ain't afraid of anything. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, as always, appreciate you so much. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. CST. And, oh, not the schedule. We don't need that. And I don't need that. There we go. Anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you again tomorrow.